Alright, y'all, here we are, we're back. So this morning we've kind of concentrated on getting moving so we can get down and get to work early enough. Came in this morning, Zach's got the equipment greased. I've got the grill, the side covers on this, got it fueled. Got some diesel fuel conditioner put in both machines. I checked the coolant. It's down a little, so we definitely had a little bit of an air pocket in there last night or yesterday, and then over the night. Typically, if you get something up to pretty close to operating temp, it's got the cap on it. Just shut it off and leave it be. Everything will kind of equalize over a little bit of time. So this morning, looks like it's down a little, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down and run it for a few minutes, get it circulating good and get it hot, because the coolant level is under the upper hose. So that'll give me a good opportunity to take a look and see how much the water is flowing, and won't have to guess. So, yep, we're all ready to go. We're going to head down there and get to it right now. Let's go. y'all. Let's see. So y'all seen that. We've been down on the driveway pulling some logs up. We did that this morning early so we could do it in the when it was cool out, so it didn't kill Zach down there running them chains around. I forgot to check the oil in our upper rollers this morning, so I'm doing that right now. We're taking this back apart because although this thing definitely does seem better than what it was, it still doesn't seem like it's 100%. So we've got two other things that we're going to do here. The first one is, since we put it back together exactly the way it was, it's better than what it was. So I'm assuming somewhere, I don't think it was the water pump, honestly. I think it was cleaning the radiator out made a little bit of difference. We don't know. But the next thing we're going to do is we are going to gut the thermostat. So we got to pull the thermostat housing off, which isn't terrible. We should be able to get that done, hopefully. Our biggest problem is going to be this crossover tube from the water pump. If we get that out, I'm gonna gut the thermostat. And I know that thermostats are a little bit confusing probably to some people. Basically, they're there for two purposes, and those are to maintain the lowest temperature that this stuff should run at, which this is 180 degree thermostat by the looks of my temp gauge. So it's going to run probably about 190 degrees. Unless it's under a heavy load, then it might go up to 200, but it should always be around 190 to 200. It is getting to 210. So the other function of the thermostat is to restrict the flow of water. So it basically what it does is it slows the water down in the system. If there's nothing in there at all, the water will run through the system fast enough to where it doesn't stay in the radiator long enough to cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this thermostat, pull the bulb out of it. So it still restricts the flow. The only thing different is it's not maintaining a temperature. So if I pull this apart and it runs cooler, what that means is that maybe this thing is hung up halfway and it's restricting the water flow even more than it's designed to. So that's what we're working on right now. I'm going to get this thing over with, go back down on the driveway. We're going to test it right back again today, as long as this works, if we can get this apart without too much trouble. Our second option here is that this thing has been, this thing's been hillbillied back together. The engine in this does not belong in this. This engine's out of a different type of John Deere deal. And what somebody did was they got it in here. It's the same engine, but the configuration is different between a Bulldozer and what it came out of. So when they put it in here, you've got to use the same fan drive and stuff, because otherwise none of the pulleys, the balancer, nothing lines up. You have to, basically what they should have done is taken the complete drive off the old engine, put it on this engine, and there would have been no problems. Instead, they left the drive on this engine. So they had to cut the fan blades. The fan blades were probably missing, a certain percentage of the cooling because of the airflow. Now, I don't know. The radiator's been changed because the original radiator probably wouldn't fit in this thing because of the way the accessory drive is, which they should have changed. So between the radiator, maybe it's got a gallon less of coolant in it. That's always going to play on it. Doesn't have as much cooling capacity, how much the water can accept and the radiator can release. So, there's a couple things here that are, I wouldn't have never done had it been mine, but it was done way before me. It is what it is. So now we're dealing with it. So our second option is, if this doesn't make a difference, what we're going to do is we're going to put a fan on the front of the radiator, and if that happens, you guys will see it. A Bulldozer is different than a car. The car, you're going 50 miles an hour. It's forcing air through the radiator, so you want your fan to pull so it's not working against each other. Well, this thing never goes more than, whatever, 10 miles an hour. So there's no real air coming through the radiator. So the air in these actually goes backwards. It pushes it out. So what we'll do is we'll put an electric fan on the front and have it pulling and helping to move air through the radiator, just in case, because of the fan being cut, smaller radiator, it might do just enough to get it. All we need is 5 or 10 degrees difference. So we're going to do a couple little things to try to remedy our issue. So far, it's not really an issue. It's more of a personal thing that I don't like seeing shit run 220. So not going to hurt it, not going to blow a head gasket, but it's just something that I hate, things that don't start, and I hate things that overheat. So this thing, the starter clicks, but I'm not going to buy a $300 starter until it doesn't work. So anyway, right here, let's go. There's our thermostat. You put it wherever, and that's where I'll hold it.
Yep, right there. You want it right at the base, right? Yep. Yep.
When you're cutting these, just hold them with a pair of pliers like that. And there's a spring in there. That spring's going to release. There's the bulb. When this bulb gets hot, this thing opens up. That plate opens and allows the water to come through here. So this is the restriction that slows the water down so it stays in the radiator long enough to get cool. So we're going to basically take this ring, we're going to put it back in here. It's going to go back in here just like that. So now it's still restricted, but you don't have to wait for something to open if it maybe won't open. Now this, to me, this looks fine to me. There's nothing wrong with this, but you never know. It's in there where you can't see it. So we're going to put this back together now, and we'll see if it makes any difference. If it doesn't, which I'm kind of expecting it's not going to, then we'll go to the fan. But I will say this. We'll know right off the bat when we get this done, because judging by the flow in the radiator, it doesn't look like it moves a ton of water, which it could do the same thing as if flowing too much. Flowing too little, the water isn't getting out of the engine fast enough. Therefore, it keeps heating that water up too much. So once we put this back together and run it, we'll be able to look in the radiator and see how much water flow there is, and we'll know right off the bat if it's going to make a difference. So let's get that done right now. All right, guys, we got silicone on this. I put a little bit of silicone in this groove, so when I put that back in there, it actually holds it in. So when I go to put this in, that thing's not going to flop out. Now, we're going to... The hardest part about this is making sure we don't mess up that pipe. We gotta make sure that pipe goes in there properly. And we gotta get our bolt started. And this engine block is so hot, we've got to, all right, that's not the right ones. Right there.
Oh, yep, my bad.
That's fine. We got to make sure this gets done pretty quick here, because this engine block is hot enough to where it's gonna start to flash that glue on there pretty quick. So we want to get that thing on there so it'll seal. Not bad at all. I mean, this whole thing, other than it being hot, I mean, there was only about 20 minutes worth of work here. So I'm going to finish up checking the rollers for oil right now, and we'll probably let this thing sit for a good 10 minutes, 15 minutes, let that sealant seal up, and then we'll throw some coolant in it. That'll be the end of it. Actually very clean.
Mm-hmm. So is the inside of the engine.
Let's see what that does. Fire it up.
It looks like it's flowing around in there.
Yeah. About as much as it was flowing before.
Yeah.
Well, that is a world of difference in the flow in the radiator. It actually looks like it's a little more than I would have expected. Let's see if you guys can see this. That thing is flowing like crazy. Holy cow. Big difference. I hope that's the problem. We still got a fan coming too, so we'll see how this goes. But that is a world of difference. It wasn't flowing hardly at all, and I knew that it should have been more. But that's a lot. But here's the thing. If it's a lot, you can make restrictors. You can buy them for, we used to use them in race cars, where you just put a restrictor and you could buy a pack of 3 different size restrictors for whatever your application was. You know, small block Chevy, you'd buy them, there'd be 3 different size IDs. So worst case worst, hey, we'll make our own. But that right there is a world of difference from what we've been dealing with. So that's awesome. So let's go get to work and see how this thing does. All right, y'all, that's gonna do it for me for today. The Bulldozer. It is definitely better than what it was yet again. It was a little bit better this morning, and it's a little bit better now. It's actually taking a lot. It's still getting warm, but it's taking every time we do something, it takes longer and longer for it to get warm. So there's one of two things happening. Either we've got the water flow is too high, it's too fast. I kind of think that because of the fan problems we're having, it has something to do with the amount of air that's getting passed through the radiator. It's just not cooling properly. Now, you've seen me, I'm pushing this section of the road, and I'm basically building all this up down here, and I think eventually what I'm gonna do is, this is really nasty ground, I'm gonna shove it over the bank just to get rid of it. Zach is over here digging, and Zach's actually gonna stay here and dig. I've got some stuff that I've got to do, so I'm gonna go do that. It's still late in the afternoon, so he won't be here real long, but let me give you an idea of what he's got going on here. So this is where all of our big rock is that needs to be hammered out. We've got these huge piles of rock dirt rock I'm trying to navigate. So what we're doing is we know there's huge bits of rock here that we got to get that's underneath of us here. We also know that there's a bunch of rock in this wall right here that we're having to move so we can get down to the other rock that's really solid. Now, the reason why we're having to take this out of here is because at some point we're gonna have to put some drainage in this place. So given that, you know, we've got to take that bank away so we can get drainage over there, so it keeps it off the driveway enough to where, you know, whatever happens, this driveway gets rock or whatever, it doesn't wash all that stuff away. So what Zach's working on right now is he's cutting through this from this direction. That way, when we get our big excavator and big breaker rented, we should be able to drive right up to this thing and start chipping away at it with the breaker rather than sit here digging at it and wasting our time. We only have that for 1 week. So we're trying to get this out of here so it makes it easier for us when we have that piece of equipment. Therefore, hey, digging at the driveway for the rest of the week. Yeah. So I'm getting out of here. Zach will probably stay here for a couple hours. We got my wife coming to pick me up. I'm gonna head down to the bottom of the driveway right now. And that'll be it for this video today. We'll be back in the morning. I think we're gonna put the fan on that dozer to see if that makes a difference in moving a little bit more air through there. We'll get that done in the morning. So listen, y'all, thank you very much for watching the video. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow digging more substandard holes, pushing more substandard dirt, making more substandard content for YouTube. Y'all have a great night. I know we will.